My competitive instincts really kicked in at that point, and I said, man, I gotta beat them. So I am incentivized to go out and see if I can find cheaters and then tell the subnet owner, and it just becomes so clearly superior. Hey, this is Travis. I'm making a vlog detailing my Bittensor mining journey. This new Subnet 93 presents a unique opportunity to show a little bit behind the scenes as to what mining is like and kind of chronicle the birth of a subnet to either maturity or death. So if you're new to Bittensor, or you want to become a miner, or you're a subnet owner that wants to get some idea as to how miners are feeling, this vlog will be very helpful for you. I'm going to be talking about my firsthand experience as a miner and how the incentives shape my decisions, and even look at some miners that are exploiting the subnet right now. Many of the lessons are generalizable to other subnets as well. But for context, let's go over the subnet that I'm mining and how it works. So on Subnet 93, miners are content creators. So any YouTuber can be a miner on Subnet 93. Subnet 93 rewards miners that produce content fast and who produce quality video content. So the long-term goal is to have a scalable, decentralized solution that allows for brands to advertise via content creators. So right now they're concentrating on raising awareness of their subnet and smoothing out the rough edges. If you want more context, you can take a look at the animated video I have on Bitcast. The link is in the description. So my story starts with the subnet owner reached out to me a few weeks before they launched, asking if I wanted to be a miner on the subnet. I've had would-be subnet owners come to me with ideas for their subnets that would siphon value from Bittensor and not really provide value or deliver value to Bittensor. So my original thought about Bitcast was like, okay, this is just some subnet that wants to subsidize making videos through emissions. Like it's not going to be a sustainable thing. The subnet will crash to zero. I had kind of shrugged it off. I told them, send me your GitHub when that's ready. Maybe I'll take a look. So then a couple weeks later, they sent me the GitHub. I took a look at it and I was pleasantly surprised. It was actually really cool to see the transcripts of the videos coupled with the briefs, which are like the description of what kind of video they want you to make, and put those together into a prompt that goes into ChatGPT. That was the second time that I had seen that sort of coding used. And to me, it was like really cool that an LLM could actually judge work and pay creators accordingly. So I decided to give it a shot. I registered as a miner. It cost me about 0.1 tau, something like that. And I created my first video before the launch date, and I was really hyped. So I was like, man, I'm going to be the first miner, and found out that actually, no, I was not the first miner. Everett, the guy who made the Bittensor documentary, Decentralized Minds, he made the first video. My competitive instincts really kicked in at that point, and I said, man, I gotta beat him next time. The way that the incentive mechanism works on the subnet is basically it's a moving average of how many views that you have. He started getting emissions quicker because he had gotten the video out first, and that moving average had accumulated more data points than when mine went out. So we had a similar amount of views, but he stayed on the very top of the subnet for a few days there. And before getting into that, I just wanted to talk about the launch of Subnet 93. That was really cool to watch, like a properly fair launched crypto. There was no pre-mine. Nobody had accumulated tokens before the subnet was launched or anything like that. It was like day one, all the emissions are going to whoever registers, so the subnet owner and whatever miners there were. So my experience as a miner for the first few days was a little bit of confusion because I had put out a video. I thought it could see my video. I looked at the validator logs because they give you access to that through 1DB. I didn't understand why I wasn't getting emissions. And then I found that because of the YouTube API, they have to wait a couple days for the information to come through. So I waited a couple days and eventually I started getting emissions. For me, there was a lot of like confusion and research during the first few days. I was reading through like the code base and trying to figure out, why am I not getting emissions? How can I get more? How are maybe other miners going to be gaming the system? So yeah, the first couple days I was watching the Metagraph like crazy. If you're not aware, the Metagraph is just kind of a list of all the miners and validators that are operating on the subnet, and it gives you some information as to how well they are doing. So if you sort it by daily alpha here, you can see who the top validators and miners on the subnet are. Miners are the ones with the pickaxe, validators are the ones with the shield. So yeah, I was constantly watching this, trying to figure out ways to get more daily alpha. After a couple days, I had finally caught up with Everett, and I even passed him for about 1 hour until the miners that were gaming the subnet started showing up. So yeah, then the cheaters started showing up, And this video is an example of one of the videos that was at the top of the Metagraph. So it's a very AI generated video. You might have seen this sort of thing before where it's like AI images, AI voice, and then like an LLM generated script. I don't want to necessarily play the video for you guys, but I saw another video where they had claimed that Bitcast is training LLMs. So like the script was completely wrong and providing like bad information for people, and it was not entertaining to watch, but it was getting emissions. I think clearly against what the goal of the subnet is. But like, what's actually wrong with just having an AI generate videos for you? Like that shouldn't be cheating nowadays. Like AI is everywhere and we're all going to be using it. The real trouble with this video was that they had 0 likes and then over 300 views. So that is very uncommon to have 0 likes and 300 views. I'm sure that the subnet owners knows of some other ways to determine whether views are fake or bot. In this case, even with my very basic information, I was able to say, this guy's probably cheating. Yeah, it looks like the same guy probably made a few different channels with the same sort of AI generated videos with purchased views. That raises a bunch of questions as to like, what do we actually want out of this subnet? So that's something that we as miners are kind of waiting for the subnet owner to provide more clarity on, is what is okay, where are the lines, what is stepping over the line? For example, maybe I want to advertise that my channel exists to people that might be interested. Should that be something that is, is that wrong? I'm not sure yet. So we're kind of just waiting on some clarity there. Like what is stepping over the line? What isn't? Where exactly is the line? And I think it's also important to point out that this sort of experience with a new subnet where miners are gaming the system is completely normal within Bittensor. I don't know of any subnets that haven't had miners that are gaming the system. And then it's up to the subnet owners to refine their incentive mechanism to make it so that cheating is impossible in the long run. And then of course, if they're able to do that, their subnet becomes way more valuable. So yeah, I would be very surprised if this is the last that we ever see of the cheaters. The subnet owner did put a blacklist in place as a temporary way to stop emissions from going to those that have clearly bought views. But they stress that it's a temporary thing. They have a lot of data and other ways to stop these cheaters. And then just one last thing about my experience with cheaters on the subnet as a miner. So as a miner who wants to stay legitimate like me, I want to make sure that the cheaters are not getting my emissions. So I am incentivized to go out and see if I can find cheaters and then tell the subnet owner and then like figure out if the incentive mechanism is irreparably broken. If it is, then I will stop wasting my time with Subnet 93 and move on to better things. But I think it's really cool, that dynamic where I am incentivized to really care about the quality in the subnet as a miner. So like I'm going out there, I'm telling the subnet owner, like, I think this guy's cheating. I think maybe you should change the mechanism in this way. A typical company will hire a QA guy, right? A guy to like check the work before it goes out and stuff. And it's like, I'm that guy. Me and I'm sure a couple other miners are going through and like checking the code and like checking what the subnet owner is doing and like improving the quality of the subnet. And I'm not even like being paid directly for that. I'm just being paid for making videos, but I want it to be fair. So I'm incentivized to help. I think that's true of all subnets. I think that the big miners are talking with subnet owners. Maybe they're suggesting tweaks. Even though the subnet owner has all the power in the subnet, miners are still incentivized to care and make sure that the incentive mechanism isn't broken. Because honestly, like the way the incentives work is if I saw that AI video generated guy was getting emissions and mine were completely, and that just overshadowed my incentives, which it did for a couple days, then I would be incentivized to go and make my own AI generated crap videos. And the way you need to think about Bittensor is that you shouldn't even get mad at the people who do that, right? So if I was to go out and I was to make those sorts of videos because I found an exploit in the subnet, the way to view it wouldn't be like, oh, damn that Travis, he's ruining everything. The way to view it is, oh crap, we need to get the subnet owner to fix the incentive mechanism. So the way that I see the cheaters is that they are a benefit to the subnet because they are teaching us how to make the incentive mechanism foolproof. So sure, that miner made some money from mining the subnet, but they also helped the subnet owner figure out how to make the incentive mechanism better to increase the quality of the subnet. So yeah, back to the story. Then some other YouTubers came on as well. Blacklist came out, stopped the cheaters. And then things went, for me, from bad to worse because of the retention. So the way that YouTube retention works is it's basically a metric for determining how long somebody watched your video for before they clicked on another video. So at the end of most of my videos, maybe 30% of people are sticking around to the very, very end. But my miner course video has a retention of 5%. So 5% of the people who clicked on the thumbnail made it to the very end of that video. And that makes sense. It's a 2.5 hour long course. I would not expect most. I'm surprised it's even 5%. It probably should be more like 1%. But that one video really poo-poos on my overall account retention. Such that it doesn't meet the minimum requirements. So the minimum requirements are a retention of 10% or more over all of your videos in the last 90 days. So luckily for me, that 90 days is today for the miner course. So in the next few days, hopefully I should start getting emissions again. Also mention the fact that I lost incentives for a bit here is also completely normal for miners. Like you're just gonna your machine will go down or whatever, and you'll get deregistered. It's very common to have this sort of experience until you've got a proper system set up to handle all the edge cases and create a reliable miner on any subnet. Being a miner really increases your conviction in Bittensor, I think, because I'm looking at my videos and I think, oh, I think they're pretty good. And now I'm looking at other miner videos on the subnet and I'm going, oh, okay, I've got some actual competition here. And then my mind is going to, how can I make my videos better? How can I make my videos more engaging? How can I improve the quality of the videos? And I think that's really the goal with this subnet and all subnets is how do miners improve their output? How do we and every miner is thinking about that. Every miner on every subnet is thinking, how can I make the response speed for my inference a fraction of a second faster? And then I'll get a little bit more incentive that way, or whatever they are mining. Each individual miner is racking their brains to figure out how can I produce the output the best. Each individual miner on all subnets is thinking how can I produce more valuable output? How can I better meet the incentive mechanism? And when you think about that, the thousands of miners across the world that are doing that over 100 subnets at this point on Bittensor, it starts to become very clear how unstoppable Bittensor will be. And it just becomes so clearly superior because if you were to go to some other branding, say, agency that talks with creators and gets sponsored stuff put in videos and how they have to do signups and contracts for all that stuff. And then you look at something like Bitcast and you're like, oh, there's no signups and anyone can compete from across the world. A Bittensor subnet just blows the traditional business out of the water. There's just no way to beat a Bittensor subnet as long as the incentives are done properly. So remember, this is just a vlog of my journey mining Subnet 93. I'm not really endorsing the subnet per se. I like what I've seen so far, but as I said in the animated video, it's very possible that it just doesn't work for some reason. Maybe the YouTube analytics needs to be improved, or who knows. So I'm going to keep doing these vlogs maybe once every couple weeks maybe. So be sure to subscribe for the next one.